issue, you have to ask yourself as the candidate, what is the sort of general consensus? Where should you be? And so voter proximity theory or proximity theory of electoral choice, sometimes theories have different names to them. But so voter proximity theory or proximity theory of electoral choice, why voters choose parties and candidates. But generally we think that voters will vote for candidates who are closest to them on positions and issues. And so, again, you cannot have the candidate you want. So you have to vote for a candidate you can probably live with or who closely identifies with your positions. Now, I don't want to believe that, for example, in the Midwest, there are people who don't support Social Security or other what's called liberal positions. But again, this is social science. It's not necessarily exacting science. And so it can be challenging to understand why people vote the way they do. But when we're thinking about candidates and voters, we see, for example, the desire to maximize utility. In other words, what are you getting from this? Are you just getting voter satisfaction? Is there a bill that you really want to support? Those kinds of things. And so as a citizen, you want to vote for a candidate you're most comfortable with. As a candidate, you want to get as many votes as you can. And so everybody has what they're looking for in that election. And so everybody will try to maximize their utility. What is your maximum utility? Now, we see, for example, within the voter proximity theory, there's something like obscuring one's true position. So sometimes you hear politicians say this and then say that, and you're like, okay, where do you stand on the issue? Do you support abortion under any circumstances? And if you listen to the Virginia general election last year, you heard some of those allegations, like this candidate supports abortion all the time. And then the other side would say this candidate does not even have exemptions for incest and life of the mother. So again, there has been a lot of study on voter proximity theory or voter theory of proximity in electoral choice. So we see that, for example, this theory offers specific and testable predictions. So we can predict, for example, that candidates will begin to pivot for the general election. If, for example, it's a candidate who doesn't support abortion in any instance. And again, sometimes you look at the history of voting. For example, that issue has been said to be losing one side of the political spectrum most of the elections since Roe v. Wade. Is that necessarily the case? And so now, especially in Virginia, we saw attempts at sort of straddling the line. And so Virginia came up with this, I think they settled on a 15-week ban, so that abortions after 15 weeks to be outlawed, but making exemptions for rape and incest and the life of a mother if it's in danger. And is that a good national standard? There will be places where if you come out with that, you're going to lose. And so how do you nuance that? And so maybe you have to know who your electorate is. But so if you sort of take that theory and think about the characteristics of a theory, it hypothesizes certain things. It's causal. It talks about how people vote. It has specific and testable predictions. It explains why things happen. It is general. It applies to practically any election, particularly in this country. So any election, any place, anytime. And if you remember the characteristics of scientific research program, you will see that all these are requirements. So it has explanant power, it is empirical, it has testable predictions, it hypothesizes some outcome, some cause and outcome. So why people will vote the way they do and why candidates will take the positions that they do. It provides a more sweeping explanation of voting. So it's not just telling us why one person will vote or why one county will vote. It is parsimonious. In other words, it provides a very simple account. People will vote for the candidate whose position they most closely identify with. That is easy to. Actually, sometimes theory is almost like, but of course, why do we even need to theorize that? People will vote for the candidate they are closest to. It rests on formal, if abstract, economic decision making. And so when we think about why people do the things that they do, actually, this voter proximity theory leads us to think about another theory called rational choice, that people do the things that maximize their own utility. So decision-making theoretical approaches, and it makes very specific empirical predictions that can be tested. Will people vote for the candidate that they are closest to? And so if you watch, what are they called, exit polls, you will hear why people voted the way they voted. Now, so again, when we think about specific elements of theories, for example, it would be great to know why Obama won the 2008 election. Was it because of his positions? And so again, sometimes theories may not necessarily hold to the things that we expect they explain. While it is possible that many people voted for Obama because of the positions that he took, it is also the case that some people voted for him because he would be the first Black president. Same as Hillary in 2016. There are people who voted for her because she could have been the first female president. And so it's not always because of the positions that they take, but also if you think about why people voted for Mr. Trump, despite the things that he said, sort of like, was it because of his positions, even though he didn't really have positions on anything other than insults? So yeah, this, we can talk about the explanatory range of theories, and this is why we also talked about probabilistic explanation. It is possible that most people voted for Obama because of his positions, but also maybe because he was a different candidate. And so when we think about theories, when they explain more things, that is a good thing. But also remember that we are talking about the importance of theories being, so whether we can falsify these claims. If we find evidence to the contrary, can we provide other explanations? One of the, I think, most challenging outcomes has been the 2016 and 2020 elections and why people voted for the Republican candidate. And we want to believe it's because of his positions, but I don't necessarily know if that is necessarily the case. So can the claims be verified or falsified? Are they empirical, not normative? Do they provide general explanations, and do they add to existing knowledge? Are they transmissible, and are they parsimonious? Now, when we think about the scientific method, there are certain characteristics that are common to the methods. Like this, a research question, you have to know what the question you're asking is. In fact, it's my view that if you can come up with a question that you're asking, your research is on the way to being done. But if you cannot associate two things, then you will have a very tough time determining what you're researching. So even when you start thinking about your research topics and the research papers you'll be writing, it's important to think about A causes B, or A, when A occurs, B occurs. Like, what is the relationship between A and B? How do they relate to each other? Is it possible to test the proposition, for example, that people voted for Mr. Trump because of his positions on issues? And so you can actually look at there's a very useful data set called the American National Electoral Survey, and it asks people why they voted. And so you'll see people who voted because they were concerned about the economy, about the criminal activity, about immigration, about trade, different things. And so you can actually query that database and see if people voted for the reasons that they say they voted. But think about the research question. Now, in your papers, I'll expect to see a theory that helps to explain the phenomenon. For example, this country is very much occupied with the issue of police brutality. Now, what explains police brutality against certain minorities? Is it racism? But is racism a theory? So what is a systematic way of thinking about racism?
Discrimination.
Is discrimination a theory? So if I was to look at discrimination, how would I know discrimination if I saw it? If I was to see discrimination, how would I know it? But also, how do I know that it's there? Because discrimination can be, for example, in wages. That's also discrimination, like this wage discrimination, right? There's housing discrimination. So what is specific to traffic stops that is discriminatory?
Do you mean like who they stop? Like
Maybe
black
cars.
man most likely.
Cars? Are there specific cars that are stopped more than others?
I'm saying like a Hellcat is getting pulled over more than a Ford Explorer.
But a Hellcat is going to get pulled over more because they drive faster, I think. Maybe.
No.
Are you then saying that they are the people who are pulled over drive certain cars more?
I mean, well, I can speak for Atlanta. I know, like, I worked at the DA's office last summer, and like, I feel like they are more keen to look for a Hellcat than a Ford Explorer or a Ford.
Actually, I feel that the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they're probably more likely to look for a Ford Explorer.
You think a Hellcat's just too loud?
I mean, a Hellcat is probably because everybody knows it drives fast, but a Ford Explorer doesn't drive that fast. But I could also hypothesize that most Americans drive American cars, like a Ford Explorer.
Oh no, not exactly.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Types of cars.
But do more Americans drive more American cars than more foreigners drive American cars?
do Americans drive more American cars than foreigners drive American cars?
Yes.
I don't think Americans drive American cars.
I think they do.
Besides Ford, what other brand is?
Where's Jeep? Jeep here?
Jeep,
Jeep's American?
Okay.
Chrysler's.
I don't know.
I suspect it's not something I've looked into, but again, if you so these are these are power dynamics theory, and racism is a form of power dynamics, right? And again, I probably have mentioned this. Like, if I walk into a 7-Eleven and I find a police officer there, and I'm even carrying my gun, they're not going to stop me. So, what is it that makes a vehicle so dangerous that when they pull me over, they probably feel the need to shoot me?
I don't think it's necessarily fear.
So what is it that well, maybe I'm also not seeing the full spectrum of, because there's also people who get shot on the street, right? But that is a different kind of discrimination than housing. You see where I'm getting at? So how would I explain the higher numbers of African Americans killed in police encounters from a theoretical perspective?
Well, you gotta look at the history.
You have to look at the history.
African American police, and
So the history.
It goes back to the slavery, because
And what is slavery?
modern policing, we had slave patrols, and that's what the modern American police system is based on.
So what is that relationship that was expressed by slave patrols? Now, there's an economic element. So I could probably come up with an economic explanation of slave patrols, or I could come up with a power dynamics, because if you're putting someone in bondage, that is a power. Now, I could also use a critical race theory, right? The one that Florida doesn't want to discuss, which is clearly, obviously true, that life today is influenced by the history of slavery. In fact, critical race theory is probably a better theory to explain, because then it would explain slave patrols, it would explain people as property, it would explain the economic production models. So this is what we are saying. If you want to explain the lives of some, maybe majority of African Americans in the US, what is a good theory to use? And so that is what we are saying. But we can also test the precepts of the critical race theory and ask ourselves, is it true that today the lives of African Americans are affected by the power dynamics that have existed since slavery? And I think
Yes.
so you see where I'm getting at. Like, there's theories that can explain a phenomenon, critical race theory. Now, let me give you a different example. Elite, or some people will call it power elite theory. The idea that society is ruled by people who have the means of production, who are powerful, I think that is probably true. We have mentioned that everyone in Congress today is a millionaire. So, they have some money, and maybe they go to Congress because they have a good faith efforts to make this country better. Or maybe they go over there so they can make rules that protect their money. So if you are to explain who rules in this country, you might take the power elite theory. So this is what we are saying when we are trying to explain phenomenon, we can look to theories. If you want to explain why inner city schools have fewer books and fewer teachers, probably critical race theory talks about some of that, but also you might also want to look at economic theories.
I feel like for like what you said about like how the elite like control everything, I feel like you could include critical race theory too, because from slavery, and then we don't have the opportunity to get up to that level because they have 400 years of generation of wealth already stacked up. So how can we even get up to that same level? So it's all like, I feel like everything's like intertwined somehow.
I think you're probably mostly right. But is it money that causes people to go into politics? Now, there are places that you can. I don't think AOC had money.
Who?
AOC or Cory Bush.
She does have money,
Now she has money.
right?
She didn't have insurance.
But she didn't-
She did not have
she
money.
didn't have money then
Okay.
when she was going into. But when you have people whose families have been generationally in power, like those are, and maybe that is majority of
Is
the
there what?
Yeah, do you think AOC is an anomaly?
yes.
Okay.
AOC, there's this other gentleman in Florida who is 26 who, like, there are some people who are anomalies who, but then they go up there and they become, like, you invite them to talk and you pay them like $50,000. Who is going to pay me $50,000 to talk? So there is, but if you look at, for example, like the old money people, like say, there's a gentleman who was running for governor in, I think it was Arizona or Nevada. Where is Kirsten Sinema from? And so his grandfather had been governor and his great grandfather had been senator. And now that's old money, protecting old money. And so these few people that maybe think about the Virginia governor. Like he was one of these what are they called? These startups. Like it's not a startup, but he was managing $500 million of, like he's not no money. He is now this I think maybe state senator from Virginia Beach, Aaron Rouse. I don't know that he really has money like that.
He was just here, wasn't
Hmm?
he? He was just here.
Yeah, he was. So there are people who, but then again, you begin to see them going to these. So I think you're right. There's the economic
Aaron
part.
Rodgers was in the NFL.
Oh yeah, he was.
But he didn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
money before he went to.
Wait, did he have-
played ball in college and then he went to NFL, but he didn't start out like rich. Like he was poor. Like he.
Yeah, but also in NFL, you don't not have money. I think, and he was in the
Well,
NFL.
they do get paid. They
Yeah,
get
he
paid a
was.
lot, man.
He was in the
He
NFL.
was he played for the Packers.
Yeah, so he had
So
money.
I mean, yeah, there's like different things, but like overall, like as a whole, you're not gonna see that many.
Yeah, I mean because even like Herschel Walker, remember him?
That's insane.
Sorry, I'm picking on Georgia again. But he has money, right?
Now he does.
And he had like a bunch of
Yeah, white people love him in Georgia.
so, but I think we can look at some of those things and see all these connections of power, the economy, money. But importantly, it's useful to think about what best explains. Instead of explaining one person's life, you can explain a whole group of people's lives and circumstances. So, for example, if you think of African Americans and that question of policing, but also if we expand this to, and I don't know if you know this, you probably do, but the US has about 4% of the world's population, but 25% of its prisoners. Now,
One more time.
4% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prisoners.
What's that?
So, if you want to explain that, I've come to two explanations. Either Americans are generally lawbreakers, like every day we wake up and we are like, what law am I going to break? And then we get caught. Or there are too many laws and too many police, so that if you break a law, you're
It's racism.
I'm saying. I feel
Because
like
in the what is it, the 13th Amendment, it's like slavery is outlawed except in like kids and welfare or something like that. So like the people in prison, they're doing free labor. They're
so whichever explanation. Now you can take, for example, slavery to explain the number of prisoners.
I mean, and majority of prisoners are black. So
Are they?
it's yes, they are.
You don't think so?
Proportionally or numerically?
proportional.
Proportionally, yes. But so as someone who came in from the outside and I heard that, I was like, okay, how do we explain this? Either Americans are criminals, I'm sorry. Americans, or it's the case that there's too many police officers and too many judges, and it's almost like you can't get away with law breaking, like you're getting caught and going to jail. But also, so part of me has also wondered if there are too many laws, including, for example, against jaywalking. What's wrong with jaywalking?
I feel like all the laws that was
Nobody's
like,
being arrested for that, so.
So that's a question. Why would you be arrested for jaywalking? If you get hit by a car, I feel like that's on you. With my apologies to anyone who is hit by a
I mean,
car.
but it is what it is. But sometimes it's on a car too, so it's like,
Cause some cars.
some cars don't be paying attention. Some people don't be paying attention. Like you could be looking at the car and the car don't be looking at you. Right.
that's a
But so would you still cross? Like that argument, the car is always
I
going to
get what
win.
you're saying, but if I feel like the car is far enough for me to cross, I'm gonna cross.
You-
Right.
If I'm walking,
I'm
and
gonna skedaddle real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, like, no, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna walk fast. I'm walking my normal pace.
that's insane.
See,
me in trouble. That's crazy.
see, when I see a car about to go by when I'm in Kenya, I let the car go by.
That's Kenya though. Like I got places to be. I'm not saying that y'all don't have places to be. But that's crazy.
It sounds like
That's crazy. That's crazy.
no. I mean, people, but it's just the realization that I'm not going to win that argument, and I have no desire to be car food.
Whole time in New York, you might win the argument. You might win the argument.
New York is yeah,
But I feel
different.
like if you're walking, you can see how far a car is. Okay, I'm gonna walk. If I feel like a car is way back here, I'm going to walk. I'm walking my normal
Like you
pace.
could tell if
But
they're
sometimes the
speeding.
cars don't be paying attention, and it be their fault.
So, but
I feel like don't pedestrians always have the right of way?
Then that's on you.
But the question is, does there need to be a law about that? Let me give you another
I don't
example.
think so. I think that's extra.
So that's extra. That's what I'm asking. Are there
It's
two?
extra, but it's like,
But like that's
I
just
feel like
one
it's extra,
law
but in some cases it's
out of, like,
necessary.
all.
Yeah, but also, for example, and I'm a 718.
Yeah.
So what would happen if I went and took a leak outside?
You want
Was
to
what?
Exactly.
because you're
What was
exposing
the
yourself.
You said a leak?
Mhm.
Like piss?
What was the question?
He said, "What would happen if you go outside to take a leak?"
Oh.
Like in the grass.
But I feel like you should go to jail for that.
Yeah, that's
Why?
public and
Why are you
business.
pulling your?
But see, that's so like in the community I grew up in,
That's the problem.
you cannot, you can't do something like that because your reputation will be tarnished forever.
Yeah, so like, can't you go on the sex offenders list and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Well, you can, but so then the question I ask is, does there need to be a law to prohibit that, or does there need to be community
No, there has to be a
Um,
law.
community standards?
They don't care about no community standards. Nobody cares.
So
about
maybe
no-
it's something wrong with American society.
But the white people.
Well, no, it's just when you say like community standards, there's just too many different
Yeah, like
things going on. Because
it needs to, I'm glad it's a law because you don't know who's watching. Like, it could be kids, and you just decide. Oh, it's gonna-
But see, the community, the community standard part of that is that I'm watching the community. So I'm not going to just, I'm going to make sure there are no kids.
I'm
okay,
saying.
so you're saying like in Kenya, like you can't do that. But it's like you're saying like that's a community standard, right? But like the population is like all black people, right?
Yeah,
Right. So you can't really apply that to America because America, you have all different.
but I don't think it's a community, I don't think
But
it's a
to be honest, I
black
feel
thing.
Like,
Well, no,
I wouldn't really
but-
care if I see somebody, like, as long as I can't see nothing of you, like, nothing,
I'm saying.
as long as I can't see your body, I wouldn't really care.
I'm saying.
But
That's
there's
precisely-
people out here that care, so that's why it's like,
I feel like generally, like not even just that, but just like community standards. I feel like things are divided. Like some people don't think the same.
yeah, so we don't think the same. A lot of people don't think the same. A lot of people
Like-
think that's disgusting. Some people think, oh, well, they had to pee, they couldn't hold it. Okay, oh well.
Like
And other people like, oh, you're disgusting. You're a disgrace. You know.
So
It doesn't have to be an emergency for me.
So yeah, I mean it's not like everyone is just going on,
But then you
in
just got some people that's nasty where they're like, they're literally right there by their house and they still decide to just go
Mm.
Yeah, that's
do it.
freaky.
And, like,
They just freaky.
So the part where your reputation is tarnished forever,
I
Like,
don't feel like your reputation should be tarnished forever for it. But then again, it's like you knew what you were doing.
so our recourse for that is that your reputation is tarnished forever, and you can't, especially if you're in the village, everybody knows you're the one who you know.
Everybody's gonna know it in America too, because it's gonna be on every news. It's gonna be everywhere. You see how they doing Nikki Hudson, baby? They eat him.
Nah, but he's crazy though. He's a crazy.
They eat him up.
He's a crazy guy.
And she's mad
Nah, he's a crazy
that
guy.
that she
He's
said
a,
he's
nah,
a
he's a
rapist, which is
freaky
true.
dude for sure. He's insane.
So it still leaves me short of explaining why
We're a size 4.
the U.S. has 25% of the world's prisoners.
Huh?
It still leaves me short of explaining why the U.S. has 25% of the world's
I
prisoners.
feel like the U.S. kind of tries to throw people in jail. It's
That's
kind of,
their whole thing. The government, they want, like, it wouldn't be a jail if people weren't in it.
like I
Like,
saw,
they just find reasons to put people in jail.
I saw
To get
something on
free labor.
Instagram. This dude got like 42 years for like stealing something, but like the robbery and like that just don't make sense.
So on
One
the
person only gets 6 months probation.
on the free labor part, I don't even think Americans provide as much free labor as prisoners elsewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Like in other places, maybe except Europe, you work your off, like every day, and it's not.
And it don't be enough. You be slaving and still don't have them.
So that is a good research. Why does the US have our Americans? I mean, if it was Australia, I would understand because the first 50,000 Australians were convicts. So one thinks they.
first 50,000 Australian convicts.
Mhm.
Oh, that's hilarious. You be giving me some crazy facts.
Australia was a penal colony. Yeah, so the first 50,000 white people who went there were actually convicts. So that would make sense. But America. But anyway, so the point we are getting at is we are trying to explain phenomenon or phenomena. So, for example, I might hypothesize that America, United States of America, has a quarter of the world's prisoners because Americans are more prone to criminality than other people. Now, it would be my job to prove that this is true or it is not. And so I might look at, so I think maybe it's the laws, it's the policing per person, it's the maybe breakdown in community. So I'm sure some of you grew up in like, other people's houses, like you with your cousins and like you're always around them, right? And you went, there are houses you could go to or maybe your only children. So if you think about that kind of community, that can be. But anyway, so the thing is we're trying to explain. And so when you think about the research you'll be doing, think about what theory explains what you're trying to explain, think about the hypothesis, and then you can actually test them. I'd actually like to see how many people get arrested every day.
I feel like there's people in there like locked up for like dime bags and stuff like that. Though. So it's like, are we talking about felons or are we talking about just like if you're in jail?
Why don't they have like cash bail or something?
Oh, what?
Bail.
Oh, for like weed?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how bail for weed. I don't know why people get locked up.
So those are other questions like, what offenses are bailable and which ones are not, which ones deserve community service and which ones actually require you to be.
I'm glad you asked. So,
I just feel like, honestly, I feel like the ones that really deserve jail. Okay, you kill someone, okay, yeah, you deserve to go to jail because why are you killing anybody?
okay,
But I feel like
wait.
a robbery,
Mhm.
if you hurt them, okay, I can understand, but not to no 40-something years. I just feel like that's a stretch.
You can kill somebody and have like just reason to kill somebody, though. And like it just like
If it's self-defense, I don't think
it's not even that.
jail
But
time.
like, okay, so I read the story of this man. Like his son was raped or his daughter was raped. Like he killed the dude that raped his daughter. I don't think he should go to jail for that.
I don't think he deserved jail for that either because
But he went to jail for it.
Mm.
I feel like he should have got probably probation or something.
Probation is crazy. I think that this is
No, he should not just go straight off because it's still I understand, but it's still a lot. You can't just go around killing people. I understand what he did
Yeah.
to your daughter. Like what he did was crazy, but you can't just go kill him because that won't go bring your daughter back. No offense.
I mean, she's still alive, but it's just like
I mean, she did, but I'm just saying that won't go change the.
Yeah, I mean this, and I think there's a question of what offenses deserve what punishment. And I mean, if you're stealing with a gun, that may be a different. But if I just like snatch $20 from,
Yeah, you should go to jail for that.
I should probably do community service.
Yeah, but going to jail to snatch $20.
But you gotta think about like why do people steal?
I'm saying they usually broke.
They be
Because-
homeless. That's why I
That's
say
what
I
I'm
don't think they
saying,
should go.
like.
But some people do that on purpose to go to jail when they're homeless just to get free food.
Just get some food.
Yeah, like
Which is
like I,
it's just crazy.
like
Like
there's
I actually seen this video of this girl. She actually made herself go to jail on purpose because her girlfriend was cheating on her inside the jail.
that's freaky as hell.
Okay.
Oh, that's
She literally called the police on herself, telling her she was out here doing drugs. Like she really just to go beat the girl up in the jail.
That's a little obsessed, but like part of like homeless people and like
I feel like that was a stretch because girl, why are you doing that? But
So yeah, so maybe those are, but also maybe when we think about maybe I don't know if those are outliers. Those are like I don't.
I mean kind of because it's like if we had like programs for homeless people to not have to be homeless and to like help them,
and it's like
then
police
they wouldn't
officers,
be
they be
stealing.
trying to find a way to arrest homeless people. I don't understand like
Mm.
they be looking for reasons.
Like why are you arresting me because I can't afford a house because
Y'all raise
Y'all-
prices. Yeah,
right.
like what?
So, but they don't. Those people don't. I mean, you're not going to jail for a long
A
time.
lot of them be on some be on drugs, some don't.
and
It's
people
just
with like mental health issues.
yeah.
Yeah, but so then the question, and see again, if you're, for example, looking at the incarceration rates, this would be explanations. Like think about how many people are arrested because they have a mental health issue that causes them to do something that maybe they should not. Like if they went out there and took a leak and now they're going to jail, not because the underlying issue is mental health rather than criminality, but eventually the place that holds them is jail. And whether all these, and so again, I don't know if we necessarily count all those. There's a way that the Bureau of Justice counts the people, maybe Bureau of Corrections.
I feel like they had like programs where people like couldn't be homeless. It wouldn't be that. Like they don't do it.
They need to have like housing programs and get a job, okay? So you stay here for
But
a year, get
so-
your money and then get
so
out.
here's
and,
the-
you know,
Here's the counter argument to that argument. The US has more housing programs than probably most other countries.
But then
There's
at a
millions
certain
of
limit,
homeless
they
people.
don't. Yeah, they don't. At a certain limit, you can't stay there.
Hmm.
So I feel like they need more to build more. Like, and so many people that's homeless. Like, this is a big like. There's millions of people in this world, in this country. That's
it's crazy that we have billionaires and we still got people like looking.
so people.
I
Billions and billions of dollars to other countries.
I don't know. I'm
giving money to people like homeless.
I'm still going with the Americans are criminals.
Not all of them.
I mean, some people are just truly like not right in the head.
Yeah,
and
they
they
just like
do
I don't
stuff.
understand.
But
What makes a criminal?
outside,
But-
I
like,
don't. I feel like
Can you define criminal?
But it's not people who are in jail. But other countries also have people who are not, as you said, right in the head.
well,
Like, what
there is
makes
something
someone
like
be a
fundamentally wrong with you if you're like a murderer. Like,
Actually, globally, on average, about 20% of any country's population is something wrong with them mentally. Or at least they have alternate.
But I feel like all
Realities.
It all starts in the home. Like
well, but then
some.
But so my challenge is, so China probably has about 2 million prisoners and maybe almost 5 times the population of the United States. Why are the Chinese not jailing their people? So it still brings me back to, are Americans criminals? One day I'll do that research. But anyway, so the point that we are trying to get at is what explains something. What explains a phenomenon? What explains poverty in the US? It might be explained by historical circumstances. It might be explained by the choices that we make. So when you're doing this research, sort of think about all of those things. So relationships between phenomena, think about specific to general. We shall not talk about syllogisms, but we should probably talk about the logic of research and what and some of those things. Now, having said that, we are not even going to move into what I was thinking to do today, which is the building blocks of, but maybe we are beginning to do that. So thinking about identifying a topic, thinking about the research questions, a review of the literature. So these are the things we'll be talking about next Tuesday. And I wanted to ask you if you're beginning to think about these things. So as I mentioned in this class, we do both. We think about ideas